Hello YouTube, this is Insane Monster, and we are here for part 15 of What If Deku Had Anti Venom. Now then, this What If is coming to an end for a time being, and will be replaced in the main lineup with another What If. You will see it later on as more videos come out. Now, with that being said, I do hope you have enjoyed this series and all my other series. So, with all that said, hit it. Now, with what happened last time, some things have progressed a little bit in the few days that have passed. For the time being, all students that have who were involved in the rescue of Eri from Overhaul have gotten some time off from their internships to mentally recover and such from the exhaustion of that. During this time, Eri has actually been staying at UA, under the watch of Aizawa and Venom, mostly because Eri has bonded to Scorn, who has become quite fond and protective of Eri. As to protect Eri, Scorn was allowed to bond to Nezu and Eraserhead in order to integrate their quirks in the Scorn. With a race, Scorn will be able to cancel Eri's quirk if it gets too out of hand for her to restrain it. And high spec from Nezu is actually going to help Scorn go through all the information she has collected from multiple high intelligent hosts that she bonded to, which led her to be captured by S.H.I.E.L.D. and later on get to the My Hero universe. Currently at Island, they are working on the beginning startup of a large-scale arc reactor, like from the first movie, solid light holograms for multiple reasons, not just screens, but for three-dimensional blueprints of inventions on Island, as well as thruster systems that operate using the energy from the arc reactor. This is the starting stuff she gave them to hold them over for a good bit. Doesn't want to give all the information out at once and cause all kind of craziness on Island. Baby steps. So with Eri now bonded to Scorn, she has much more energy in her. This leading to Aizawa and Venom playing the why game with Eri, as she keeps asking why about everything. And no matter what answer he gives, she just asks why again because he doesn't fully understand for being sheltered for so long. As Aizawa and Anti Venom are exasperated, completely exhausted mentally from this going on for a while, until he got a message from Nezu. Seeing this, he runs through the common room of Class 1A's building, yelling out, "Kirishima, no!" As the rest of the class just hears Kirishima yelling, "Kirishima, yes!" Followed by the loud sound of whooshing that would be accustomed to an object being very violently, quickly, and strongly being thrown through the air, followed by a large crashing sound. With this being obvious, Uh, Ida had to ask, "What just happened?" Toga remarked, "Hiroshima has been having Lasher help him train ever since he got bonded with him. Lasher's pretty much being used as a catapult so Kirishima can increase his hardening quirk besides just jumping off the roof." As an announcement is heard over the loudspeaker saying, "Would Cementos please come to Principal Natsu's office for repair work discussion?" As per the reason, there are multiple rock brain individual shaped dents and holes around campus. Now, with all that, we move over to Kurogiri, who's walking through the woods by himself, being tracked down by Gran Torino and the police. Since they know Kurogiri is alone, they also know he doesn't have a symbiote, they figured grabbing him would be their best choice right now. Leading to the same thing that happened as in canon, as they ran into Gigantomachia. Gran Torino was able to get out with the police officer, the detective, and Kurogiri, effectively capturing him. This quickly made it back to the League, as they were not happy about this. For obvious reasons, as you may expect. As Rhino stated, "Ah, really? His power was so useful. We could get in and out of places with so much ease." As the Frost Giant Uran stated, "He has a point. We His loss is regrettable. However, you do remember what our leader did when we first met, correct?" Pointing over at Shigaraki, as he smirks with carnage enveloping him, extending part of his symbiote to create the red portal from when he bonded with Kurogiri. As he did think for a moment, why did Kurogiri have two quirks? Did Master do something? Only thinking this as Carnage replied in his head, "Not sure. The memory seemed a little bit scrambled. I couldn't really take anything for the short amount of time that I bonded to him." With that, Whiplash stated, "There, problem solved." Right? Dobby stating, "Yeah, though, if it asking me, two people with warp quirks is better than one." Walter saying, "Well, that's given." As the other league does agree. Many of them just kinda sleeping, as they're just not in the mood to be dealing with a meeting. Especially what happened with the Hasaikai. Though, closing the portal, Shigaraki stated, "It doesn't matter. Kurogiri is gone. He failed, and now we have to work on our next plan of action." As they hear a voice stating, "About that, I believe I have an idea. Think of it as a test, though I will need to borrow Dobby for a moment, if that is okay with you." Shigaraki looks at the device that was sitting there this whole time as he asks, "Oh, and what kind of test is that?" The doctor laughing as he states, "Don't worry, I'm sure you'll get quite the entertainment on the news." With Dobby smirking, stating, "Sounds fun. What do you think?" as Phase comes out of his shoulder stating, "It sounds like it might be real fun. I say we go along with it for now." "Very good, you two." As Dobby is taken by the odd liquid warp quirk, like how what happened at the attack on their headquarters. With that, they have now don't have Dobby with them, as they just sit, thinking about what are they planning. And we go back to the class where it is mentioned that they will be having the school festival. April, this time being a member of Class 1A, who was brought along with Ben and Dylan from the Marvel universe, as they are also symbiote users. As she asked, "Is it really okay with all the villain attacks you guys been having on this school?" As Aizawa remarked that they don't have to just think about the hero course students, but all the other courses. They've gone through a lot after everything that happened, and this could help them unwind, which is greatly needed. As they understood. With this, it goes similar to as in canon, where they go through the ideas for what they should do for their Culture Fest event. This going all the way back to the dorms when they discuss it, as it is brought up that they should do a concert. Denki being looked at, but thought it might be okay. Due to their training with Jiro and Present Might, the symbiotes have gotten pretty resistant to sound, so the sounds of the speakers shouldn't really be a problem. As similar to in canon, Jiro is nervous about this, but does accept, as everyone is given roles. With Toga and April in this, Toga is going to be part of the dance team, while April is asked to be part of the stage team to help out with the special effects with the tendrils and such that they'll be planning on using. As for Class 1B, they still do the theater kind of play thing, with Monoma patting Ben on the back, stating, "This will be great, and we will outshine 1A once and for all," only to have the stinger placed against his throat again. Ben stating, "How many times I gotta tell you not to touch me?" As Monoma is quietly backing away, sweating buckets. Scoffing, Shinso remarks, "That guy's annoying," with Rampage and Cloak coming out of the two, stating, "Agreed." With this, and that Eri is actually living at UA, she's allowed to go around campus with supervision either from Aizawa, Midoriya, or Mirio. As she is having a good time being shown everything for the Culture Fest. But she still doesn't quite smile. As Izuku does offer to have her watch not only the performance, but to also promise her a candy apple. As Harry really wants that candy apple. Scorn also wants the candy apple. As they begin practicing, this time Izuku is actually much more capable in dancing due to his heightened agility and movement ability from training with Toga for so many years. this being impressing. As that continues, well, the thing with Aoyama still happens, where he leaves cheese at Midoriya's balcony. Anti Venom asking, "Did I read his mind to figure out what this is?" Izuku stating, "No, no, please don't. I think it might be better we end." Goes similar as he remarks about how Izuku's quirk doesn't really match his body, since it does still break his body if he loses control of the percentage. He still has a high control of it, and has been getting better at controlling the percentage itself for what's needed. This is why he is later walked up to by All Might during their training, stating that you have gained a larger control over one for all in the lower percentages. So, I think it's about time. As he guides them through it, showing them the 20% one for all finger flicking technique that full on breaks a tree. As Anti Venom just states, that will be useful for pinpoint attacks at range. With this, they are excited, but All Might does remind them about support equipment to help improve it if needed, remarking that he did use support gear at one time, surprising Izuku since he couldn't remember All Might having any support gear. Later on, as he's scrolling through it after talking to Mei Hatame about the support item, like in canon, he sees the broadcast of Gentle Criminal recorded by La Brava. As we wind back a little bit, going back to the convenience store which he was robbing, but didn't rob because he just left the money there. Though he did beat down some low-level heroes, but nothing permanent, apparently. As we see over at Gentle's place, where he's laughing at the views of their videos, being happy that they've gone up so much. As he looks at La Brava, he thanks her, with her remarking that it was no problem at all. I wouldn't feel so confident without meeting you. As two things emerge from their shoulders. Surprisingly enough, they both have symbiotes, as a flashback occurs to both of their paths, with Gentle dropping out of a hero course after an accident when he tried to save someone. He tried to do good, but he was one of the unlucky few who fell through the cracks of their, well, less than heroic society from what the public really knows. After that, he ended up meeting Hybrid, who was bonded to an animal, latching onto him, showing him memories of his past, how Hybrid had the symbiotes that made up his entity just separated from him, but still some left. It was just a small amount, but he began to rapidly regenerate his whole mass, becoming his own symbiote instead of just the collective. Later on, the symbiote did spawn only one. Due to its nature, it took time for it to evolve to the state of the others, but not before it had to spawn. The spawn latched itself onto Gentle's cat at the time, And when things just went forward, he met La Brava. The cat was getting old, and the symbiote that bonded to it latched on to her, finding that she was nice and she cared about Gentle, so she didn't have a problem. The symbiote's name was Mata, a pinkish red colored symbiote. As Gentle sat down, going over the plan about UA, explaining their route and details. Hybrid remarking, "You do love your tea, and I have to admit, that particular brand you're talking about sounds good." Hybrid ended up developing a taste for tea after bonding to Gentle. Probably the least dramatic change in the symbiote. As Mata just laughed, stating, "It will be fun, though we should be careful. UA does have symbiotes too." With Gentle and Hybrid stating that that's part of the thrill. As they get their plans in motion, everything was going as in canon, practicing in order to prepare for their performance. Instead of the harness, they decided to end up using April and her tendrils to act as the harnesses that they'll need. With her agility, she can move around Aoyama much easier. As everything was getting set up, and Izuku was training with his new technique again, this is when Mei Hatsumi rushed through, breathing heavily, stating, "Look!" showing off the new support gear. He slipped on the gloves. He tried it out, finding it to be a good success. As he smirked at this, he looked at the time, seeing that things were getting close to the culture festival, and he remembered something that they didn't have. Since they didn't need the rope for the harness like in canon, there was something else he found out they didn't have. So he hurried up and went go get it, not bothering to put away the gloves he had. After leaving the convenience store, he began walking. As Anti Venom stated, "Zuko, I feel someone familiar." Zuko had to ask, "It he? No, it's not one of them. Think, but it feels familiar." As he remembers, keep going forward. As he goes off, he sees a small woman and a tall man walking together, covered up in some clothes. Well, some cold weather looking clothing. As he looks at them, asking, "What do you want?" The man stated, "Oh, nothing, we're just passing through." Izuku looked at him, stating, "Yeah, that's not going to work." As La Brava and Gentle recognize this kid and recognize what and remember what Hydra told them about this kid from the UA Sports Festival. Well, well, this is something. Oh, great. I guess he was correct in telling us we would not be able to sense him. Labrava asking, "What now?" As he just say, "Now we begin the performance early." Removing the cloak, revealing Gentle Criminal. As he smirked, Izuku asked, "Alright, so which symbiote do you have?" As Gentle just waved his hand, stating, "Why don't you come and see for yourself?" Glitching towards them, Izuku and Anti Venom just hit a elastic wall in the middle of the air, pushing them back. As they see the force that sent him back, they full on start running after recognizing how powerful he is. I didn't expect him to be that powerful. With La Brava stating, we probably should hurry. Emerging their symbiotes to hurry up and run. As Izuku fully suited up and started the chase, with Gentle making the ground rubber-like, bouncing them as they bounced in the air. Izuku looking at this stating, well, that's new. Anti Venom stating, he seems to make anything elastic quite useful. Okay, admire them later. As they begin using One for All to push into the air to catch up to them. As he was about to swing at them, Hybrid extended a tendril to grab La Brava and jump down using an elastic air wall to send them towards a construction site. He threw La Brava to the side where they used webbing to swing over and land. Mata remarking, I hope he knows what he's doing. La Brava stating, don't worry. My Gentle will be able to take care of this. After getting there, Izuku had to ask, you're going to UA, aren't you? With Hybrid Gentle stating, how astute of you. Well, yes, we are. As Izuku states, sorry, can't let you do that. Izuku hesitated for a moment, asking, what is this feeling I'm getting from him? Why do I feel like he isn't a bad person? Ugh. As Gentle began to make the entire place rubbery and bounced around the construction site, bouncing off of the steel beams all over. Luckily, with the spider sense, Deku was able to avoid much easier. Though, this being the case, with tendrils, they took out the bolts from the support beam as it began to fall, looking like it was going to go towards an old man, causing Izuku to quickly grab it. What's happening? Why did I feel like he didn't actually have a sense of hostility after doing that? As Gentle and La Brava met back up, Gentle stated, I knew you'd be able to catch it, but we do have to go, so I apologize. Our work has to be taken care of, after all. Extending a tendril to yank down an elastified crane arm. With Mata La Brava grabbing hold of Hybrid Gentle, they launch off. As they threw the beam down, Izuku chased after them again. Now they were in the woods and running straight towards UA. But Izuku stating, why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like they're not bad people? And why do I... Anti Venom stating, ever since we got One for All, the leftover energy from the mind gem has been strengthening. Possible that the soul gem is now catching up as well. You know, I don't know much about those things, right? I know they gave you made you into a proper symbiote, but that's about it. and that those things are supposed to be some kind of cosmic power stones, but I don't know what happening right now. Anti Venom just remarked, "We'll see. First, let's get close to them." As he was blitzing right towards them, Gentle made another wall, only to have Izuku blitz right around it, using a flick to rebound the air shot at Gentle, then pinning them down with Anti Venom's tendrils, forcing Hybrid and Mata to retract into their bodies to protect themselves. Izuku was planning on distracting Hybrid and Mana and purging them, but something else happened. He saw their memories, what they went through, how they were treated, and how they just didn't want to disappear into the background. They didn't want to be just some blank face in the crowd. How they were treated by others, all that. Once he snapped out of it, he thought, is that? Oh, I also felt what they felt. This was the mind and soul gem energy within Anti Venom merging together. He could not only see their memories, but feel what they feel and understand them. Understand them a little bit already. When he was deemed quirkless, he felt like he was just gonna be on the sidelines, just not being able to do what he really wanted. When he noticed something else, he couldn't remove Hybrid and Mata. He recognized that if he did, Hybrid, Mata, La Brava, and Gentle would all die. We're like him and Toga. We're permanently bonded. This giving Gentle and La Brava the time for La Brava to use her quirk to empower Gentle, causing enough force to break free from the tendrils with physical force alone. This starting the fight back up again as Izuku is hit with multiple layers of elastic air straight to the ground, only to be gripped by the ankles by a tendril sent flying to a tree. As he was webbed there and La Brava webbed down, he said, "Enough. I know what happened now. I don't think you're bad people. Please." With the power boost fading from Gentle, he states, "It doesn't look like we were really in a winning position here, young man." This is when Watchdog showed up, asking what's going on. Izuku begins to explain the situation as he asks La Brava and Gentle to please cooperate and be led to UA, with La Brava's camera and equipment being taken, and tells Watchdog about some things, to look into their past, and that they aren't bad people, just ones who got left behind, and that they couldn't remove the symbiotes from them without killing them. They were permanently bonded. Nezu was informed, and in one of the battlegrounds model cities, they decided to have a meeting with them. After calling the police and such, they looked into their backgrounds and saw that honestly they didn't actually, besides roughing up some heroes, nothing real permanent damage. They didn't even steal anything. Literally, they acted like they were stealing stuff and then they just left what they were attempting to steal. And they only did it to companies and other things like that of people who were trying to do shady things just to get for a quick buck and such. Honestly. So they met with them and offered them a bit of a deal. This deal was for a type of bargain where they would be allowed to go through a villain rehabilitation program. However, due to the fact that they're symbiote bonded and that removing them would kill them, as they both flinch from hearing that. As it continued with Nezu stepping in. You both will be working at UA as security guards for now. When the rehabilitation process is deemed successful and complete, you will be allowed certain privileges. But as for what those may be, you will have to see. Gentle getting pretty emotional, and Labrava is crying as well. This is when Nezu states, "Oh, and you want to thank someone? I think the boy that stopped you. He's the one who convinced us about this after all, or at least what he told us, which allowed us to take a bit deep inspection of your past." As they smiled, Izuku was able to get back in time for the performance, as everything was going well, and Izuku was able to get, well, not particularly dressed, but more Anti Venom transforming into the clothes for it. As the performance went on as in canon, and Eri was able to smile again, Dorn having a bit of a joyful look on her face coming out of Eri's shoulders, as you can tell that he's crossed a big hurdle of hers. After that, they all began to get everything cleaned up, including all the stars from Todoroki and Kirishima's work with their special effects. As Toga and Izuku went up to Eri and Mirio, they're glad that she had a fun time, and went around with them to show them everything that the culture festival had to offer. As Eri had a good time. Everything went pretty much as in canon from here. As at the end, when they were back at the dorms, Izuku stated to Eri, "I did also promise you something else, didn't I?" Giving her a candy apple. Taking a bite, she loves it, and Scorn is loving it too, stating, "Do you have another?" Izuku pulling another one from behind him, stating, "I thought that might be the case." Scorn is enjoying this. As that was taken care of, they went to bed. Izuku, upon sleeping, found himself in a wasteland area. Parts of his body were all looked like they were just some kind of smoke. He looked down at a row of people, one of them looking like a young All Might. As he saw, he didn't need to know who they were to know who they were. He could just tell. It was the first user of One for All and All for One. Anti Venom showing up beside him, stating, "This is new." As the user of One for All, the first, extended his hand, stating, "So, you are the ninth. It has begun. It shall awaken within you. Be strong." As Izuku states, "What are you talking about?" Extending his hand only to be woken up, activating his quirk, causing the window to shatter. Breathing heavily, this catches Aoyama's attention to go check on him. After explaining some things, it becomes quite apparent that Zuko had a nightmare and accidentally activated his quirk, causing a mess. So the All Might, he told him what he knew. Well, what really happened. All Might didn't really know what to make of this, and had to make some calls. But he also stated that Aizawa was looking for Izuku, that he'll be taking somewhere important, and be careful. Upon being picked up by sorry, upon being picked up by Aizawa, he also meets with Present Mike as they get into a car and start driving. They weren't sure where they were going. Izuku did have to ask. This is when Venom pops out stating, "We're going to a prison to meet someone." One of the League of Villain members was captured. As Aizawa grips the steering wheel, stating, taking a breath as he just couldn't believe what he was told. Mike also being unnerved by it. As they got there, they met with Kurogiri, who was in a straitjacket chair for the prisoners. As they were trying to ask him questions, Aizawa wasn't wasting any time, being a bit more aggressive in this canon with Venom in him, using a race to show an old friend of his, one he thought was dead for so long. He just couldn't believe it. His friend was alive for all this time. And all for one had him. He had him for so long. And they never knew. With that, Aizawa just closed his eyes and tried to figure out what was happening. Why did this happen? Zuko then was asked by Mike if he could help. He looked at Izuku, stating that that's an old friend of his. It was a hero in training with us. Sitting down, he just tried to get his thoughts together. Breathing in, he states, "That's our friend. His name is Oboro. And, well, we thought he was dead." Explaining the whole situation. This being surprising. Anti Venom comes out stating, "I think we might actually be able to do something, but we need to get close to him." With this, Aizawa rubs his eyes, stating, "Fine, cancel his quirk again to let you do what you have to. You can help with his mind, right?" With Anti Venom stating, "I've grown stronger. I believe I can do more than just help with his mind. There's an imbalance in him, not just of his mind, like his soul is imbalanced." Aizawa not knowing what that means, as Venom shows Aizawa a memory of how Anti Venom was given actual life. Aizawa stating that was weird, after being filled in about the mind and soul stone, thinking that they have a chance. Once they were in, Aizawa and Venom used a race to make sure that he couldn't use warp. His friend revealing himself again as Izuku envelops himself with Anti Venom as he extends his finger tendrils over to him, encasing his head, beginning the process. They met in another odd area. Izuku asked, "Where are we? It looks like the dream, but right." Anti Venom showing up, stating, "I believe this is the mindscape." As they look around, finding Oboro, as it looks like there are two other people there, and something around his head messing with him, stating, "Help me." As Anti Venom and Izuku run over to him, they fist bump, connecting with one another, combining their minds and souls temporarily, latching onto Oboro as the light began to shine from them. There, one individual is someone they didn't know. They got rid of this, being the mental copy of the quirk user of the warp quirk that didn't come from Oboro. As for the other one, it looked like All for One, stating, "Interesting. Didn't know part of me that here would be found." How annoying. Though this image of All for One just smiled, as it was destroyed as well, ripping the odd lights encasing his head. They broke them, shattering them into pieces. As Oboro looked okay. Back in the real world, Anti Venom and Izuku's eyes have been glowing for a good bit. And with the light dimming down, finger tendrils retract as Aizawa releases his erase quirk, not sensing any danger from his spider sense. And seeing as the smoke around Kurogiri begins to change, it reveals Oboro's real face, though his hair, which was cloud blue and all wavy like a cloud, is still somewhat the same, but has trim colors of black, the warp core, even the ends of his hair. He breathes in heavily, stating, "Aizawa, I... been a while, huh? Hasn't it, Sato and Asashi?" With this, Mike and Aizawa rush over to him, checking if this is really their friend, asking him all sorts of questions that only the real him would know. He answered all of them perfectly, also stating that Mike still gets pretty emotional. With Mike stating, "You're damn right I'm emotional. I thought you were dead for years." After this, Oro was processed due to the fact that the consciousness that seemed as though it was altered was destroyed. It doesn't seem like Oro really retained anything from his time as Kurogiri. But apparently, All for One didn't really deem it necessary to take his quirk. He didn't really see a use for it for him or the Nomus. So he just added in the warp quirk to help weaken his mental state so he can mold him into Kurogiri. As the result for this, he not only has Warp Gate, but can now use his cloud again. His cloud being his quirk cloud, where he makes one to ride. With this hands-on processing, Obero is asked to come to UA, since he may still be in danger from the League. Obero wasn't going to really uh, reject that kind offer, and went ahead. As he got there, he was asked to be a part of the physical education department of UA until some things were properly processed. He was on a good track to being a hero, after all. They wanted to get him back on it, though he would still need checkups from Izuku and Anti Venom to make sure that there wouldn't be any relapse into Kurogiri. Even if he stated that he destroyed the false consciousness and whatever else that was messing with his head, though he couldn't do anything about the quirk and put into his body. So he'll have to learn how to use that well. With all that said, things have gone quite well. As similar to in canon, the whole thing with the top 10 heroes goes as in canon, with Endeavor being number 1. Hawk still gives his normal speech, and later on asks his Endeavor to meet up. This leads to the same fight as in canon with the Nomu Hood. With everyone watching, Izuku flares his wings, tempted to go there, only to have Aizawa tell him, "Don't." This could be some kind of ploy, as he figures that if Endeavor can't handle this, then that's a problem. But it could also be a way to lure out any of the UA symbiotes to either be captured or destroyed. They had to be careful, as Todoroki and his siblings were watching this on the news, worried. Similar to in canon, Endeavor was able to beat Hood by completely incinerating him, even destroying his head. Since when he tried to destroy him earlier in the fight, Hood ripped off his head and tossed it as a way for him to completely regenerate his body, showing that the brain is the biggest weakness of the Nomu, and probably the only one that will make them stay down. This being where they hear a laugh. It's Dobby, as he just laughs, enveloping himself with fades, creating symbiote flame blade, stating, this has been so entertaining. And look at you, all beat to hell. Oh, I would love carving you up with this, going off the flaming symbiote blade. But that will have to be fun time, no matter how much love. I'm just happy to see you just get beat down like this. It was far more entertaining than I thought. This being when Mirio showed up, as well as other heroes who were rushing in after dealing with the lesser Nomus that Hood shot out from his body. Smirking, he just says, "Well, I think our time's done," as a red portal emerges. A red symbiote claw latches on to Dobby and yanks him through it. As he lands, he looks over at Shigaraki. He looks at him covered in carnage, stating, "So that was the idea? What was that?" The voice from the radio spoke again, stating that was possibly the most finished product yet of the Nomu. The one we gave you for the USJ was, let's say, mid tier. The other lesser ones were low tier. If I had to give that one a name, high end, no move. So, what do you think? Shigaraki Carnage smirked, stating, "It was interesting. There more? Progress is slowed with what all for one gone, so it will take time. But as for anything else regarding that, I believe it's best to hold off on any more news. After all, wouldn't want to spoil the surprise." As he just laughs, showing off other Nomus and Vats, introducing the symbiotes that they were given. Don't get too comfortable. You'll only be there temporarily. I just need you to mimic all the quirks you can, showing a number of Vats of mid-end and low-end Nomu, as well as the high ends being worked on. As he just continues to laugh maniacally. This is going to be so much fun. And this is where we will be ending it. I do hope you have enjoyed. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next vid. Later!